Welcome to Inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. Inside South Union Township, a joint cooperative venture featuring Township Supervisors Bob Schiffbauer, Rick Vernon, and Jason Scott, Armstrong Cable, Breezeline Cable, and our friends at CUTV, including Gary Smith. Today I have with me all three Township Supervisors, Jason Scott to my left, Rick Vernon and Bob Schiffbauer to my right, along with John Over from K2 Engineering and the Township Solicitor, Jim Davis from Davis & Davis, Attorneys at Law. Today we're going to discuss the South Union Township officials recently conducted community survey about whether the township should purchase the Uniontown Country Club property. And Jason, I'll first start with you. What prompted South Union Township to conduct a survey about purchasing the country club?
Thanks, Brian. We've always been transparent with our residents. We send out a couple newsletters a year trying to put as much information on those as we possibly can. This is the first time we've used SurveyMonkey, and John will get into that while we've used the SurveyMonkey. But basically, we wanted to make sure that we had enough interest in this before moving forward, because if we didn't have enough interest, I didn't want to go and spend money on surveys and appraisals and stuff like that during our due diligence period, and then come to find out that the residents aren't behind it.
Rick, what was the township hoping to learn from residents throughout this whole survey process?
Well, thank you, Brian. The first thing we wanted to find out was, do the residents want us to get involved in this and try to make it happen for us? That was the main reason for the survey. And we'll let you know exactly in a couple of minutes how it did come out. And thank you, Brian.
And Jim, who developed the survey questions and how were they approved before being released?
Well, basically, as was mentioned before, John Over from K2 Engineering, their company has done this many times throughout southwestern Pennsylvania. So we went to them, they're our township engineers. They then went to that company to do the survey and develop the questions. They have the expertise and we were there to rely on it, and that's all what we wanted. We wanted to have as most efficient and effective survey as possible.
Jason, how was the survey released? Was it sent out by online? Was it sent through the mail, or by both means?
We did both. I mean, basically what we could have done is just stuck a barcode on Facebook, but we wanted to get the input from our residents, not outsiders. And that's just being truthful. I mean, we represent our taxpayers, and that's who we wanted to hear from. We did mail it out. We did get some phone calls at the township and saying, hey, I didn't receive one. When we got that, we either delivered it by hand or we sent them a QR code to their phone so they could conduct the survey.
And Jim, it really seemed like the township was very transparent during this whole process.
You know, I like to say that there's no township that's more transparent than South Union Township. And I don't think that people really understand that. You go anywhere in southwestern Pennsylvania, there's no place that does it better than South Union. These gentlemen went overboard as far as transparency goes, and that's what they did in this situation. They want to know what their taxpayers and their citizens think. And this is one way to find out. And it's probably the most effective way, and you really get a cross-section of what people are thinking. So my hat's off to the supervisors and their efforts, ongoing efforts at transparency.
Now, John, you worked a lot with this survey. First off, before we get to the survey responses, why did the township choose SurveyMonkey for this survey?
So SurveyMonkey is the platform that we use at K2 Engineering. Dana Kendrick, who's an economic development specialist in my office. She's done many of these surveys for other communities throughout the region that we offer services in. It's a stable platform. It's a well-recognized platform, and it's a user-friendly platform.
Well, you do have some of these survey responses. John, I'll let you go through some of those, and we'll have them on the screen as well for some of our viewers to take a look at.
Okay. So, like Jason said, all the residents in South Union Township received by some form the survey. Of the surveys that were sent out, we received 1,087 responses. That equated to almost 25% of the surveys that were sent out. The survey was initiated on Friday, September the 12th of 2025. So the first question that was asked to the residents was question number one, which is the Uniontown Country Club property could be transformed into a multi-use space for residents, including several activities such as a swimming pool and golf course. Of the questionnaires that were sent out, 1,077 people answered, 10 did not respond, The overwhelming majority said it would be an extremely valuable asset to the township. Question number 2, do you support South Union Township moving forward with the purchase of the Uniontown Country Club? The overwhelming response of 1,075 respondents was yes, absolutely. Question number 3, if the township purchases the property, which of the following community uses would you be most excited about? Again, you can see the responses up on the board there, but family and community event space and a swimming pool were the two that received the most responses. Do you believe this investment would make South Union Township a more attractive place to live, desirable place to live? Overwhelmingly, over close to 60% of the respondents, again, strongly agreed with that question. Which age group? What is your age group? 1,073 respondents. Again, you can see the breakdown of the age group on the screen there, but it's over 65 and over was the greatest number of respondents. Are you a resident of South Union Township? You do see that we did get some respondents from non-residents, but most 1,073 respondents responded to they are residents of the township. How long have you been a resident or property owner in the township? More than 20 years was the greatest number, as you can see on the screen. Do you rent or own your home? Again, the greatest answer to that question of the 1,071 responses is they are homeowners within the township. How many people live in your household? You can see that generally speaking, it's 2 people per household, but the other demographics are set there on the screen. Do you have children under the age of 18 living at home? Again, a majority of the answers were no, they do not have children under the age of 18. So those were the questions, other than the last question was providing the resident's address. 984 responded to that question for the addresses.
Can I interrupt you 1 second, John?
Sure.
I just want to point out, Dana, if you could take it back to question 3 on the graph. I think it's important to know that what the people want the uses for. I mean, if you saw the survey, it was 65 and older were most of our responses. And you can see what they want that public space to be used for. I mean, it's overwhelming. You were allowed to select as many of these as you wanted to. So it's amazing to me that family and community event space was the top thing that they picked out. And I just want people to understand that. Is like, no matter how much we have for people to do amenity-wise, they're always looking for something different. And I know we have to, the 65 and over was just overwhelming to me because I never thought that this kind of response would come through with that. And that's telling me that, these people are looking for other things to do. And if we can't provide these kind of amenities, basically, who knows what our population will be in 10 years from now.
I think it also shows that our older generation's not afraid to use digital media as well.
Yeah, when I say we're putting something on Facebook, Rick always tells me, well, the older people don't get it. I think this survey shows that they're getting it.
And Bob, also important to notice, you've been here a township supervisor for a long time. This isn't the first time the township's run a survey like this.
We've always used the surveys for many years, general surveys specific to recreation, and I must say that the way we've done it this year is by far the best, and I think it yields the quality of response that's transparent and actually sends us the exact message the public wants us to hear.
Thanks, Bob. You're watching Inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. We'll be back with more right after this.
Choosing an attorney, and perhaps even more specifically a personal injury attorney, is a matter of trust. I find it hard to understand how, say, someone here in Fayette County or Greene County could choose an attorney from Philadelphia, Miami, Pittsburgh, and never meet them, never have a conversation with them, never sit across from the table with that attorney, eye to eye, discuss things, have an exchange. Our clients know us. We live in the community. We work in the community.
Welcome back to Inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. Today we're discussing the South Union Township officials recently conducted a community survey about whether the township should purchase the Uniontown Country Club property. And guys, when you look at what the Uniontown Country Club has to offer, this certainly ties into the recreation currently offered in South Union Township.
Yeah, we've always been, recreate. Bob was going to touch on it, but we had the first rec center, I believe, for a second-class township in the area. Since then, the trail's been a huge success. Numerous projects. We turfed the field at Hutchison. We built a new backstop on the big field. We replaced the concession stand. We took down a dilapidated property down here on Cinder Road and made a dog park out of it. So it's nothing new for us. And I mean, the complex we're in right now, we built in the last couple of years, indoor sports complex for soccer and indoor flag football. We have little camps happening and stuff like that. So it's nothing new to us. We just want to add to the amenities around here. I think I touched base with somebody this morning. I mean, Dunbar built a 100,000 square foot building just on a whim to try to get a company to move in here. Well, when a company comes like this is where economic development comes in. First thing they look at, school district and what amenities we have to offer. If we don't have these types of amenities, there's no way you're going to get a big factory with these good jobs to come in.
And Bob, this actually started back in the 1970s with the first rec center going in South Union Township.
Yeah, when I first became supervisor, the township did not have any recreation facilities or programs at that time. So we set out on a course. One of our first largest project was the building of our recreation center on Township Drive, close to our township offices. That's 45 years ago. That building has served the public. It's just unbelievable how many people use it, and it's still going strong. And now we just raise it to the level of this building we're in today. And I think it shows the public that we're heading in a direction of always trying to make our programs even better and just addressing the needs of the public.
And I think one question that a lot of the public has had here over the last couple of weeks is, how could this project be completed without a tax increase?
Yeah, that's a big Facebook question. And I think we've proved it time and time again. I mean, Bob said when he built the rec center in 1980, that was a big question, or are you going to raise taxes? And I think that shows you right there, it was 45 years ago. We haven't raised taxes in 45 years. And when we built this, I got the same questions when we built this. And there's no tax increase. There will never be a tax increase. I can promise you that. I hope my video the other day explained where the taxes go, because I think I did have a lot of people reach out to me that they weren't aware of where they go. So hopefully that helps, and I can promise you, as long as I'm here, Bob's here, there will be no tax increase.
Also me.
Oh, I forgot all about you, Rick.
That's all right.
You got to speak up.
And Jim, if this potential purchase does go through, where will the funding come from?
Well, there's a lot of options, right? Of course, there are grants. There's going to be grants available. And I'm sure, South Union Township is one of the townships in this area that has really received a number of grants through the state and federal government. I would say we're probably number one in this region for grant applications and grant success. And that goes to some of the people that work on the grants, Maxine and the other people at the office that work on them with the township supervisors. So that's where it's going to start. And like Jason said, there's not going to be a tax increase. This building is the perfect example.
So what are the next steps?
Well, of course, this whole project is at its infancy, if you want to say, or it's the first stage. We would have to enter into some negotiation with the property owners. We cannot purchase, no municipality can purchase real estate in Pennsylvania unless you have an appraisal, and you can't purchase it for greater than the appraised value. So we'd have to get to that point. And of course, the seller would have to be willing to sell it for the appraised value, and we would have to be willing to purchase it for the appraised value. So there's a number of steps that would have to go through. And of course, this would all be public. The appraisal would be made public, would have to act at a public meeting. So the transparency you're seeing today will just continue.
Have any of the steps been taken at all yet?
Not yet, because I think the survey was the key. The supervisors wanted to hear from their constituents, and they have heard.
I want to let all three township supervisors talk a little bit more about this project. I'll start first with you, Jason, about the importance of this potential purchase and how it's going to tie in again to the current recreation and the facilities that we have here in South Union Township.
Let me touch on one thing that Jim just said real quick about the only conversations we've had with the owners now is, would you be willing to sell it? And are you entertaining to sell it to us? That's basically it. They said, make us an offer. And when I called Jim, I asked John, you have to get an appraisal. It doesn't matter what they want, what we want to spend. Basically, that's where it has to happen. And I did have a resident of South Union Township reach out. Bob talked to him also. Jim Nagley of Nagley Design Works. He lives in our township, and he basically designs golf courses. We went and met with him. He had more information on that golf course than I was. He had pictures from 1939. He was overlaying, showing us how the greens were getting smaller. I don't golf myself, so I wasn't, too concerned about that. But basically, he showed us the history of that club and, what it's meant to the community for the past, 110 years or whatever it is.
I think it is important, and I do golf, and I've played at a lot of different areas that have courses that are owned by either the townships or the communities, and they seem to be really successful. You go back and look at both North and South Park thriving right now, Cranberry Highlands, another course in the area owned by the township, and it seems like most of these courses that are run by townships generally are clubs that are thriving right now.
Well, there's quite a few municipalities that own golf courses in Pennsylvania, over 50, and throughout the United States, I don't know the number. I'm sure it's a huge number. And you're right, they're operating quite well and doing quite well. So there is a pattern that we could follow.
And the people say, how can you run if previous owners have had it and they can't make it? It's grants. That's the biggest difference that people don't understand. I didn't understand when I came. I worked for 25 years in the private sector. When I came here, the first grant was a 902 grant, and it was $100,000, and we had to pay 10. And I said, what do you mean we paid 10? It was a 90% grant. I never heard of such a thing. But when I came here, and that flourished, Dana Kendrick with K2, Maxine in our office, John over, we work on these grants, and it's just amazing how much money you can get that if we don't fight for, it goes to Philadelphia.
And I think it's also important as well, you look at the Uniontown Country Club property, of course you have the restaurant, you have the community rooms, you had a swimming pool that was over there that was filled in, and of course the great golf course.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the possibility of the pool and
Yeah.
what that means as well as far as a potential purchase.
And it's back to Facebook, but everybody wanted to inform me that the pool's been filled in. Obviously, we know the pool's, but we can go after grant funding. And people say, well, why don't you go after grants for infrastructure? We do. We just got a $2.6 million grant to resurface Matthew Drive, which was a big concern of mine. I mean, we go after every grant that's available, but unfortunately, or fortunately, there's more recreation grants out there than there are infrastructure. I mean, John can attest to that. So I'm just not going to sit back and wait and not do, grants for recreation if that's all that's available right now.
Yeah, I think that Jason's completely right. I mean, the grants that are available through DCED and through DCNR, which are state government agencies, and also the federal government, they understand the importance of having recreational activities for your constituents and for the public. And, to have someplace for seniors to go, to have someplace for our youth to go, that's very important. And to go back to the economic impact that it would have in this area, I mean, even though South Union Township is doing this, as Jason alluded to, there are facilities in other municipalities outside of South Union Township, but those businesses that would want to go into that building, they're going to look for these high-quality amenities for their families that will work for those businesses. So that's extremely important for the entire region and not just the South Union Township residents. But, I mean, I think to even go further, I mean, the importance of the facility, I mean, it's just a regional facility. It's been important to the region for a long time. The socio-economic benefits that it would bring to other, other kids that didn't have that availability before because it was a country club, and now it's going to be run by a municipality, so those residents will be brought into the system. I think that's very important for people to understand. Moving forward, everybody needs to understand this was just informational gathering. Moving forward, in addition to the appraisal that needs to be done, there needs to be a full-blown analysis of the facilities so that the supervisors know exactly what they're getting into, how the facilities are today. If the numbers don't work, this project doesn't move forward. They're not going to make a decision that's going to cost the taxpayers money. The numbers have to work so that the business of that facility runs itself and makes money for the township ultimately. The golf courses that Mr. Davis mentioned, Mount Odin, that's owned by the city of Greensburg, they make $100,000 a year for the community. And I think that's important to understand.
And I just want to interject one final thing here. In the hands of the township, we can do more things with this golf course that a private owner could never even think of doing. And those things that we can do are going to benefit our residents.
And Rick, has to be exciting for you as well.
Also, one big thing on our survey come up, we have no community center. This way we have a community center and a swimming pool. Those are the two things we don't have in the township that we'll complete if we can get this golf course.
John, what's a realistic timetable if a deal is reached as far as being able to develop it and actually get it in the township's hands?
So there are a lot of unknowns. But realistically, if both parties agree to move forward, I don't see anything occurring probably for at least 6 months. So
we'll still see what things have to come out over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get some things together here, and we'll continue to inform the public as well with some programs here on Facebook and YouTube, and I know you guys are always great updating the township website as well.
Yeah, and anything coming forward, as soon as we release this video, we're going to release also the PowerPoint that you saw on here on our Facebook and our website. And I don't know how you can be more transparent than we are.
Anything else you guys would like to add? Again, thank you to Jim Davis, the solicitor for South Union Township, Jason Scott, one of the township supervisors, along with Rick Vernon, Bob Schiffbauer, and John Over from K2 Engineering. I'm Brian Borozak. You've been watching Inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. Inside South Union Township, a joint cooperative venture featuring township supervisors Bob Schiffbauer, Rick Vernon, and Jason Scott, Armstrong Cable, Breezeline Cable, and our friends at CUTV, including Gary Smith. Have a great day.